Everyone to tonight's study session and our discussion on our 5-year transit implementation plan. Dwayne, are you going to lead us off here?
Yes, I'm going to kick it off.
You'll kick it off? Okay.
So with me tonight is Irene Higgs, Executive Director of the Sun Quarter MPO, and Amy Moran from Wilson and Company. Amy will, as usual, be doing most of the talking tonight. So tonight we're looking for direction in proceeding with the transit system. But before we get started, I wanted to mention that we did get designation from the governor to receive the 5307 transit funds. So that's something we've been working on for a couple of years, and it's really
that's
nice
awesome.
to
Good
have
news.
that behind us.
Great news.
So the last time we were here, we presented 3 options on microtransit. Tonight, we're just bringing you our recommended option out of those 3. And Amy will explain why we picked that particular option.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Send in the big guns.
Well, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I'm happy to be back here again to one more time talk to you about the direction we are selecting as preferred for the city of Casa Grande as it relates to providing transit service. I'm going to just give a little refresher, information that may be familiar to you that we talked about previously about what the study background and the goals are. And then we'll just talk about what we think the potential 5-year implementation scenario might look like. So if you recall, there was a previous study completed in 2019. That was a pretty comprehensive study, a lot of outreach, a lot of feedback from stakeholders and the public. And in that particular study, it actually really focused on providing fixed route service. As Dwayne mentioned, since that study, the city actually has been officially designated as a 5307 recipient, making it eligible for the 5307 funds moving forward, as well as the approximately $2.6 million that has been allocated from the CARES Act. So we took a look at that and we decided what is really probably going to be the most effective way to implement a transit system, trying to minimize the risk for the city. And that's when we kind of took a little bit of a turn from what was originally recommended in the 2019 study. And we said, well, let's look at microtransit and see what that might mean in terms of an alternative to fixed route service. And so just a reminder, when we talk about microtransit, it's a flexible on-demand shared ride service. Riders are going to specify their pickup locations and drop-off locations within a particular zone that's designated for the service. They can book in advance, they can book on the day of travel, typically using a computer, smart device application, or even by phone. The vehicles themselves will have to be equipped for wheelchairs in order to be compliant with ADA requirements.
How many pickup locations?
So when you're talking about a flexible on-demand, the pickup locations are limitless within a particular zone. So there's a service area or a zone that those vehicles would cover, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
But essentially, as long as you are being picked up or dropped off within that zone, you are eligible to ride.
Thank you.
When we started looking at what we were targeting as the initial service area for this microtransit, we went back to the good work that had been done in the previous study, which really looked at all of those indicators for potential transit ridership. So one vehicle households, low income, key destinations, residential densities. And you can see here in the graphic is what was compiled as the 2025 composite transit demand. In other words, the areas that are kind of the darker purple are those that we would expect to see the highest number of either origins or destinations for transit ridership. We also decided from a microtransit perspective that ideally we'd like to achieve a 20 to 25 minute response time. So that means if you aren't ordering your vehicle in advance and you go on, similar to maybe what you might do if you call a taxi or order an Uber or a Lyft, you go on, you order the ride, and the goal would be that vehicle would be there within a 20 to 25-minute time frame. We did want to minimize reliance on Uber, Lyft, or taxis because we know that they're a bit scarce here currently in Casa Grande. So we didn't want to rely on that, which many systems do. And again, as I mentioned when we started, we wanted to look at an option that would use the CARES Act funds to the greatest extent possible in those early years. Well, there's not an expiration on those CARES monies currently. There's always a big question mark. And the guidance that we're hearing from the Federal Transit Administrative Representatives is it's in the best interest to go ahead and get those monies programmed. If they are programmed, the likelihood of those being then taken back is much lower. So you may recall when we, I think, first initially met with you, we talked about this initial zone. And when we first talked about it, it did not have what is kind of that little finger that heads to the north that goes up to the Boys and Girls Center. And so we've revised the service area to include that based on the feedback that we heard from everybody. We also, if you recall, looked at a couple options of whether it would be better for contractors to provide the full service or have Casa Grande purchase vehicles and operate the service here within the city. And the conclusion that was drawn was that it was more cost effective to have contract service, at least in the initial years. What that gets you basically is some time to learn about what that ridership might be. What are those origins and destinations? It allows a little bit of flexibility, settle in, get comfortable with the service, have somebody else kind of take on the burden of figuring out how to operate it. And then, of course, there's time to evaluate after 4 or 5 years down the road and see which direction you might want to go if it's something you want to bring back in-house. Again, in order to maintain that 20 to 25-minute response time that we talked about initially, we would need to have 3 vehicles in service. We looked at a couple options where we said, well, what if we provide 12 hours of service or 8 hours of service, Saturday service? You may recall that as well. We looked at a variety of options one of the times that we spoke to you, and where we landed was we thought it best to provide Monday to Friday service for 12 hours, so from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Some of the other options that we looked at had shorter service hours, obviously would cut some of the costs, but our thought here was with those longer service hours, we're better capturing those peak employment times. So those people who kind of work a normal, say 8 to 4, 9 to 5 job, the service would be operating as opposed to running at a shorter time frame and cutting off those end hours. And regardless of the option we chose, if it was run by the city in-house or if it was going to be run by a contractor, there would be a need to hire a new transit manager as a city staff position. You might wonder, what are those folks going to do if somebody else is operating the service? Well, I assure you there's a lot of coordination that's involved. There's a lot of reporting requirements for the FTA in order to receive their funds. So there's certainly a lot of work that would be needed by a city staff employee. And so when we look at costs here in a little bit, keep in mind that those costs would also include the cost of that full-time staff member. So here's the cost of the preferred option. You can see it's running between $700,000 and $900,000 annually. You might wonder why that changes. Well, we did factor in some nominal inflation, recognizing that 5 years from now it's going to cost more to provide the service, it's going to cost more to pay people. So we wanted to make sure that we were taking that into account. Next column you can see is the CARES funding. What we did here was we, to the greatest extent possible, utilized those CARES funds in the early years. And that CARES money is sufficient, we're estimating, to get through 4 full years of service. And then start drawing down on the 5307 grant share. So you can see in year 5 about $400,000 in 5307 grants. In the first 4 years, when you're taking down that CARES money, there's still a local contribution of about $100,000 annually. Really, that's just a conservative estimate to offset the costs for that transit manager position that would not be eligible for CARES funding. There are certain administrative functions that that person would need to do that are tied to requirements to pull down that grant from the FTA that the FTA will not reimburse for. When we get into year 5, that's when you can start to understand moving forward what those potential costs of that initial zone operating Monday through Friday with 3 vehicles for 12 hours a day would cost. It's about $450,000 to $500,000 local contribution, and again, about a $400,000 FTA grant share. So as Dwayne mentioned, what we're here today really, I guess, is to ask any further questions that you may have to make sure you're fully understanding what we're thinking the best path forward might be, and to get your direction as to whether you think this preferred service scenario seems like a good plan, understand the need for hiring a full-time transit manager, and then really the next steps, if there's a consensus that this all sounds like a good direction forward, to think about preparing that request for proposals in order to get a contract service provider on board. I will say that that request for proposals is a heavy lift. I think those documents, correct me if I'm wrong, are about 100 pages long because of all the FTA requirements. So current staff, or if the new transit manager comes on board, they're going to have to spend a lot of time working with Federal Transit to make sure that they've got all the correct language and legal requirements in there, so that they are eligible for that 5307 reimbursement and CARES Act money. So that's my short presentation, and I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Amy, I have a question. So this, if we do this micro service version and we do it in that mapped area, it should give us some data, right? I mean, we can pull some data over the 3 years or so that'll tell us where that ridership's going, right? So if at some point in time we don't like this version and we wanted to go to a fixed version, it might help us design where that fixed version needs to go to service the most people.
Absolutely. So the beauty of modern technology would allow you to collect ridership data, so how many people are actually using the service, but also track what are the primary origins and destinations of that service.
GPS movement, all that stuff.
What's that?
GPS movement. Would they use that?
No, I think what they use is more of a tracking service that would track the locations where folks are picked up and the locations where folks are dropped off, and count the number of riders.
That is a GPS.
Oh, but they wouldn't necessarily track the paths that they're taking.
I know, maybe we want to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, a question on that map about the approved or identified zone. Am I understanding that the pickups and drop-offs outside of that zone wouldn't be?
So the service would have to both originate, so somebody would have to be picked up inside of that orange area and dropped off. Now, it wouldn't preclude somebody who lives 2 blocks away to walk and say, pick me up at the Quick Trip or whatever the case may be. But it would be limited to that zone.
Okay. And I get, this may be a rhetorical question, but if we simply said the city limits of Casa Grande is our pickup and drop-off zone, how big of a bite is that? Is that unmanageable? We don't think we could do it?
I will tell you it would be very expensive, and I would suspect that there would be a large portion of the city limits that would have very low ridership. So we established this initial zone based on those areas where we think that there's the greatest potential for people to not only need a ride, but also reach their destination within that zone.
Okay.
And then, did we look at Tuesday through Saturday or any other alternatives other than Monday through Friday? I mean,
Well, so I will tell you, it's basically, the costs that I'm sharing with you are for 5 days, 12 hours. It's based on the number of hours that you're running the service every week. So if you
So you
wanted to
could
go
go
Tuesday
Tuesday to
through
Saturday.
Saturday versus Monday through Friday, it would be the same.
okay.
How many people do those vehicles hold, the transit vehicles?
I think it depends on the type of vehicles that they would use. I would guess that it would probably be somewhere in the range of 8. It is a shared ride service, so you have.
Probably a van with
Yeah.
with a chairlift access.
Is there a fee to get on to it, or is it?
Well, that's entirely up to the city. What we initially recommended was that the first 6 months of service would be free to ride in order to help people understand it, attract the service, let them get used to it. And then we assumed a nominal fee of $1.50 per rider.
You know, the senior center used to send vans with some of the seniors up to Phoenix or Tempe to go to a play or something that was interesting. Can they leave ahead of time if they have people from the senior center that want to go to outside of our city limits?
So when you would set up the contract with the provider, it would be based on an understanding that this was the specified service area. So those vehicles would remain within the service area. So if there was a desire to go outside of the service area for that type of special event, you know, they might be able to get them to the pickup point of where that vehicle, separate vehicle might travel to take them up to Phoenix.
Health center, and then they can
Yeah.
go from there.
Well, that's where they usually left from.
You know, this would be separate from that. though.
No, we're going to have to get another van for Dorothy Bowden.
Don't we have one? I think we have one.
We used to, I don't know if we do now or
Lisa?
not.
Lisa? Yeah, we still do.
Well, first, I'm excited we're here. You know, it's just been such a long road, so I am excited that we're here, and it's something that we can test, and I think the data is going to be critical, Mayor. But I believe because of the funding that we, the resources that we have available, now's the time to try this. So, but of course, you know, we're going to get criticism from some people in the community because it's not, you know, hitting their particular neighborhood. But I think we have to remember, like you said, Amy, when we did this study a long time ago, that heat map is where it shows where the biggest demand is and need for this type of service. I had a couple questions, and if you can remind me, I know we had discussions about this in the past, but why aren't we going a little bit further west here to Walmart distribution? I know there was discussion last time you were here, but if you can explain that, well, explain that first, then I have another question.
Certainly. So we did talk about that. A couple of factors here. I think, number one, expanding that service area and trying to maintain that 20 to 25 minute response time probably would have required another vehicle to be in service, which is, of course, going to increase your costs. So that was one factor. I think the second factor was that, at least initially, we thought perhaps the greater level of ridership could occur closer to the end of the first 5-year period. And so this initial zone did a good job capturing what's on the ground today. And it would allow for that flexibility to revise it or expand it in the future once you have a greater understanding of the information. I think one of the other concerns also, at least until we have some better information, was whether or not those people at Lucid, for example, would be the types of people who would prefer to use transit service or need to use transit service versus having their own personal vehicle.
And then secondly, the hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., when you look at, it does go out to the hospital, you know, maybe that time period, because you have to look at shift changes. And since the hospital, I know it's usually a 7 a.m. shift to 7 p.m. shift, so, and I would imagine some people will be going out to the hospital. So that might be a time we might want to look at and see if we adjust it a little bit for people that are starting a 7 a.m. shift. I don't know. It's something if you took that into consideration. And then lastly, as far as connecting to some of the other services that are coming into town, so with your, what's the one in Coolidge called again?
Cart?
Carts
Yes.
and the Maricopa Transit, do they have other pickup locations where we could possibly, connect with them. So
Cart
they
does.
can, if cart goes to Fry's on Pinal, someone can get on the cart van and then come into our area, our zone. Is that possible?
It would be possible, because I believe there's a cart drop-off
County.
around the hospital.
And the county
And-
office.
Yeah,
And
the
the
county office.
and the
But the
promenade.
county is in this zone, so
It's
but
in
what's,
this zone, yeah.
but what's north, so if someone is at the hospital and they live over by in Valago, so kind of close to, Fry's,
Can't go to
could they, do they pick up at Fry's at all?
No.
No.
That would be outside of this service area.
Okay,
They just come down Truckle and then go over to the county building.
Just
And
goes
then
up
come
to
down to
Cottonwood,
Pinal
yes.
and then go over to the hospital and
Oh,
Promenade.
that's what CART does.
And then they go back
Okay.
out to like CAC and,
okay.
yeah, they just make a loop in, that's it.
But they do go to CAC, so at
Right.
least people in this area,
They could
if they,
get to a drop-off or
Yeah.
a pickup location for cart.
for carts, okay.
And they
I
also
just think
go
that
to
connectivity is important,
Yeah, they
and
get
how
Florence
we
too, and
can
they get
communicate that.
Coolidge. so,
Right.
yeah.
And they have a drop-off at the courthouse in Florence, too.
Right, okay,
Yeah, and our courthouse here too.
right, okay,
Not our courthouse, but the county's.
okay, that was it, no, but I think it's great.
There. Matt.
Does anybody do they contact some of the bigger employers and see if they have an interest in having their people picked up at a certain point to come and picked up in the evening?
So I know when we did the
More like a
2019 study, part of that outreach included outreach to employers. And I think that we've captured several of the employers within the area. As far as developing or defining a deeper point of pickup at those employment areas, that has not been done yet. I would certainly think that might be something that would be worked out logistically as the service begins to unfold and discussions are underway with the contract provider. I will mention that, one of the things that we did consider, if you recall when we were talking about those out years, was, maybe this transit manager position, part of what they could do is reach out to those employers and understand what their needs are and possibly even see if they'd be willing to partner to kick in some money
Thornton Road
to
is
help
full of
support that.
people that have employees all the way down industrially. And it would sure be an opportunity if the people wanted
Yeah.
to get a ride.
I
or-
think to Amy's point too, though, if we get that transit manager, then he can go out and contact Lucid and say, hey, do you want a ride share program? We can help coordinate it if, got enough people who sign up for it, and you're gonna help pay for it.
I will.
Lucid, I meant Lucid. We'll get Lucid
Right.
to help pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that-
Matt, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, so like my colleagues, that's one of my biggest concerns. And I've come a long way personally on transit because I was very against it, but now through lots of study, I can see something how it's manageable. But one of my huge concerns was that we're not hitting our biggest employers. We're hitting a lot of our small employers, which will help. But I work out in that area where the big employers are, not for them, but in that area. And traffic is getting really bad too. So this could be a solution for that. And we need to make sure that somebody does, because data is going to drive, in my opinion, data should drive this entire system.
You own Thornton Road.
Just a little Pete, no. But if, it's important to get that data because we need to see how much it costs per rider. I mean, if it's costing $10,000 per rider, then
It's not worth it.
it's something we can't afford to do. And I hope that people use it because the biggest thing I hear besides getting more housing for people is getting people to work and how they can get transportation and getting them to shopping areas, hospitals, stuff like that. And to the point of the cart, I think Walmart or someplace with a big parking lot would be a great thing where people could park there, plan on catching the ride there, right? And then going to the cart transfer and then going to Florence or
And I will-
CAC.
And I will say, Matt, on a separate conversation that I've had with CART, is that they're interested in tying in with what we build, but obviously they're gonna ask us to participate in some of their CART. Now, it won't be that expensive. It's like $25,000, I think, to be a member. So if we were a member, I know that they would work with us on locations.
Okay. And
And then
then,
we could kind of promote that with our transit system.
yeah, and that's good because that'll make it bigger without us spending a
Absolutely.
whole lot of
Yep,
money.
yep.
The other thing is that I'm glad to see that the rec center got included in this, in the Boys and Girls Club, because that's gonna be important. And I guess we're gonna have to make rules for agents. We spoke about that before, but I guess that comes later on at the contract period. As well as my other question is, the vans are gonna be branded CG rides or whatever?
So I think that would
That would be more
be
towards the
negotiable
contract,
with the
right?
contractor.
Yeah, that's what I mean, that's answering my own question there. That would be at that point.
Rhetorical type.
And so I've had a couple concerns from people, and personally, and the full-time employee, which I know was part of your presentation tonight, but if we're doing everything contract, why would we not have a contract employee? Because what if this only goes 3 years, 5 years? Would that be possible?
So you need to be very careful in order to maintain your eligibility for the 5307 program. One of the requirements is the ability to demonstrate that you have staff that are knowledgeable and efficient
Okay,
in acquiring that grant, providing oversight on the grant, and then reporting on how that grant is being used. And
that,
so there would be a lot of, I think, nuances, and to be honest, I think I have asked the question in the past, and it was not looked upon well. So the recommendation would be to have that person on staff in order to continue to be able to demonstrate that Casa Grande is capable.
for the long term. And that answers my question, so I'm asking the question to see, and you answered it very well. And lastly, another concern I've heard is that, are we making this transit system to fit the budget and not the needs? And I'll say, probably yes at first, right? Because that's what we're working within. But we just want to keep, again, with the data, the data to make sure that we're going the right places and doing the right things for everybody. And I'm sure, I'm just making a point, and we've all talked about it, so that's going to be very important. And maybe if we need another board or something, somebody that was a suggestion from somebody that I got, and says, two or three people that maybe, we have some boards and commissions. Maybe that would help a lot, people to concentrate on it who are using the system or know about the system, so we could get more input from citizens.
We are forming a new community services board, and
Yeah.
that might fit right in.
It might
with
fit in there with that.
And because since we're going to sit down with Brett at some point in time and talk about job descriptions in that board, we could add that in.
That's a
there.
good idea, yeah, because that's something that's gonna be
We'll keep
important to hear from users and hear from people in the community. And are we gonna keep this under the, another concern, are we gonna keep it under Public Works, or are we gonna?
Where does this usually reside, under
Is it gonna
Public
be under
Works?
Public Works, or?
So I was just asking Dwayne, I do believe in the past, as these studies have unrolled, and even at the beginning of this discussion about microtransit, there was a committee that was formed specific to that effort, so it could be a good starting point if you're looking to have a committee specifically related to transit. I do want to mention to your question about whether or not you're creating the system in response to the funding that's available or what the needs are. And so a couple of things. To your point, it's very important to understand what the needs are. Right now, we're doing our best as planners to give a good indication, but until you, as you said, get that data, you don't really know. And so I would, say to anybody who were to ask a couple of things. First of all, we're starting with this area which we believe to have the greatest need for the service. It gives us an opportunity to collect the data, and I will tell you historically, if you look at other areas that provide transit, they start small and they use that data to revise and expand their service area. It's a typical approach to providing transit rather than going all in a very large service area, spending more than you probably need to learn that you need to pull it back. And I think it's better to focus on the area where there's the greatest need and then potentially expand.
And it might shift the whole thing one way or the other way. And I appreciate that, and that's why I asked the question, because I figured, and to answer, we are fitting it to a budget because that's part of our job as well. You know,
Correct.
we have to work within
Correct.
that budget. So, and I agree with that, but I appreciate your answers to my questions, and thank you very much.
Certainly, no problem.
Just a couple things. I need some clarification on a couple things, but, and I think that we've all, received some notification from folks that have an interest in this. And I know that traffic is a big concern, and so we're trying to address that. And I think that we do have to, I agree with Matt, we have to have it within our budget because we can't provide a service and then take it away. We need to be constructive on that. The position that was mentioned, I want to make sure that we understand the qualifications needed on that position. And the reason for that is that we want to be competitive and have somebody good in that position, but if we can't pay them what they should be receiving for their qualifications, then we're going to have a problem right from the very beginning. So I want to make sure that I thought about the committee because I know that's been talked about. I caution that I think that it should be an advisory capacity because I think that if we have somebody that's going to be in that position, we need to allow them the flexibility to do their job with input from our community, but not to dictate, because I don't think that that's what we're after. And just a couple clarifications. One of the concerns was that what we're seeing today is not any really different than what we've seen in the past. So it's not of community need and the vision. And I guess, is there something specific here that you've talked about that is different? And if not, for that, for those people concerned about that, why not? Why is it not different?
So the big difference here is that in the past, that past 2019 study, it looked at fixed route service. So basically a bus that would run up and down Florence Boulevard every half hour or so and have fixed stops on just that road. That was what the initial kind of early 5-year action plan was. This particular service would be flexible and on demand. So instead of just capturing people who are able to walk to and from a bus stop on Florence Boulevard, they're getting picked up, if they live in that zone, they're getting picked up at their doorstep and they're getting dropped off at their destination. They're not tied to those specific spots and locations of bus stops along Florence Boulevard.
And I appreciate that. And the reason I ask for clarification is because there are some people that have been involved with this from the beginning, and then there are those that have been kind of spotty and they don't understand where we started versus where we're at. So I think that that's important. And then the other thing is the money that we're talking about, is it going to be competing with our city budget for monies for our roads? That was another concern, that we would be, kind of competing against each other. And I didn't see that, but I guess I just need clarification on that.
Mayor, Councilwoman McBride, specifically to your question related to the competition amongst budgets. Following our last study session, we had a considerable amount of dialogue as a staff and considered the comments and questions that were asked by the mayor and council at that point in time. That really drove the outcome of this particular proposal. The short answer to your question is, in the first 4 years, it does not compete. We ultimately are utilizing, in the first 4 years, we are ultimately utilizing the $2.5 million that we've received in CARES funding. Again, one of the primary goals that we established as a team is to, as has been articulated tonight, really give us the opportunity to better understand our community's needs through the collection of data. That does this with what I consider to be a very nominal investment on the part of the city, which is essentially funding those non-eligible costs through expenses through the federal government, which in this case is the transit manager. All of that was done with intention. I think, and I guess I'll make a point and I'll ask Amy or Dwayne to verify this. There's nothing to say that in year 2 that we can't begin to modify what this program looks like. And obviously, the mayor and council would ultimately be, as part of our budget process, as part of the consideration, would be asked to evaluate if we would want to make an additional in-kind contribution to pursue other types, to pursue the 5307 money as an example. But I think generally speaking, our goal as a staff and what we're presenting to the mayor and council this evening is to limit the amount of money that we would be contributing out of the city, so there's no competition with any other funds, and certainly not the streets fund, and utilize the $2.5 million that has been allocated to us through CARES to really study and establish what we consider to be the program that best fits our community's needs.
Larry?
Okay.
I would like to say
Go
that
ahead.
2.5 million of CARES Act funding can only be spent on transit. It's not available for anything
Right.
else.
And I just clarify for you all, I'm very much for it. I think that, we had a committee, and as a whole, the committee did a really good job, and you guys have done a great job. I'm very much for it. And we can only provide the best service, and it's up to our community to utilize what we offer. And so, by the fact that, we're having issues with traffic and those kind of things we're providing, it may not be the best, the grandiose, but we've got to start someplace, and you guys have given us the information that we can do that. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Powell, you had a comment?
Yes, the insurance on the vehicle and anybody on there would be done by the city, I assume.
A contractor, probably.
Contract.
It'll be part of the contract with the contractor.
It is. The
I would assume
contractor
so.
would
It'd be
handle
part
it.
of that contract.
We'd have to
So
negotiate.
they wouldn't be our vehicles, so.
Yeah, yeah, it's not our
Insurance
vehicle.
would be through the contractor.
That'd be negotiated in the contract, right? Yeah.
I would say yes, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Mayor, if I can go back to the question by Councilwoman McBride specifically related to the competition, there obviously, when you move into the transit programming, there, as you can see under this particular proposal, in year 5, if we would ultimately be, our investment from the community funds would be $466,000. Under this proposal, that is actually when they could potentially be competing against. The fund that they would be competing against is our general fund.
Yeah.
It's not gonna come from our streets fund, it would come from our general fund. And, but again, at least in my mind, what this program and this option provides is the staff and the council an opportunity to have a runway to evaluate what that contribution needs to be. Do we need to grow the program? Do we need to shrink the program? Whatever it may be. So while we've estimated $466,000 in year 5 under what has been introduced within the parameters here today, that will likely not be the case in year 5 because we'll have evaluated the system and likely made some changes to it.
Correct. Thank you.
Bob, you had a comment?
Dwayne, could you expand on what you said about the CARES Act funding can only be spent on transit? Is that transit as in public transit like this, or can it be spent on stoplights and
No, it's
roadways
just
and?
No,
Transit systems like we're talking about tonight. It can't be spent on roads or
on
traffic
transit
signals or anything like
systems.
that. Just-
Okay,
Just transit systems.
so pretty much something similar to what
Yes.
we're looking at tonight?
Yes, so
Okay.
if we don't spend it on transit, we just end up losing the
I see.
2.5 million.
Thank you.
You also asked a question about the salary for the transit manager. We did a lot of research on what other groups are paying, and we feel we're competitive with other systems around the state. With,
Thank you, Dwayne.
Same with the job description. We looked at other job descriptions and came up with one ourselves.
Anybody else have any other comments or questions?
Just
Lisa?
another comment. I really did want to thank, because of course I started on this committee several years ago, and I just wanted to, Amy, your group, and Dwayne and Irene, you've been part of this, and so, it's been a long process, but I really do feel we did our due diligence. We've listened to, the council members, we've listened to the community, and I think with this, having the flexible on-demand is really the way to go, and I think people are going to be happy with that. Because there were some concerns in the past with the fixed route and how people are going to get there, but I do feel that this is a nice compromise and a good way to start. And like you said, collecting the data, and like our city manager mentioned, we can always adjust as time goes. But I think it's something that has been an interest, and people have expressed, concern that we don't have it here. So, Councilmember McBride mentioned it. Here, we're going to provide this based on the information we've gotten, the funding we have, and then it's up to the community to use these services, and if not, then, if we have to pull back or whatever.
Right.
It's a good way to start.
Like,
So thank
and I-
you.
Yeah, and I would agree totally. I like this idea because number one, and I want to remind everybody that as transit's going to change a lot in the next 5 years. And as that changes, and it changes because of a couple things. One is population. If we grow by 20,000 people in the next 5 years, which I expect we will, that changes the whole landscape. And on top of that, technology is going to also dictate how that changes. And it's coming fast. Technology is going to change a lot. So I'm all for not investing in a bunch of buses because I think that's going to be passé, just me personally. But knowing what I know about technology today and don't know about what technology will be like tomorrow, it will change. I do know that. So thank you guys for all the hard work you've done on this and all the time you've spent. I know it's been a lot of work, especially with the SCMPO and Dwayne and Amy. You guys have done a great job, and we appreciate all the work you've done on it. So now, there's no vote here, but directionally, to give staff direction to go forward with this? Is that what you need, Larry?
Mr. Mayor, there is actually no vote this evening. What we were looking for is really a better understanding from council as to whether or not you want us to bring this item back for a formal vote to accept the option.
Okay.
Or if your preference would be for us to move forward to essentially put out the procurement documents for the private hauler, for the private provider, and essentially that be the first action item that mayor and council would be considering.
Yeah, so it will come back to us for a vote, a formal vote.
That's correct.
Okay. I
Could
think
you
I
go
see
back
everybody's
to what
head
was
kind
on
of,
there?
go back to what?
What was just on there showing
The
this
dollars?
version? Yeah.
You go back to the
Yes,
dollars.
right there, thank you. As you look at that, the FTA grant, is that something that would come automatically to us each year, or what's entailed in accessing that grant?
There is a whole bunch of steps to get that grant money. Part of why we really want a transit manager, because there's like 20 steps you have to take, different things like a safety plan and a number of things. But once you have the first time you have the grant, it's usually good for 4 years before you have to go through.
Yeah, the
apply
CARES funding is an annual thing?
No, that pot of money is that whole pot, 2.5 million. We could spend that tomorrow if we wanted to. Well,
When you say local contributions, 466,000, is that revenue from picking up people, or is it part of that revenue from picking up riders within the area that we have here, or?
there is a little bit of revenue in those numbers, but it's
pretty minor.
it's a small number, like $60,000 maybe a year or something like that.
I'd like to shake it a little more financially, but I'll be quiet.
And finally, what kind of timeline are we at in terms of, if we go forward, with this and come before the council, what kind of timeline are we looking at?
Well, it'll be a little while because there's a lot of hoops to jump through with FTA. So the first thing we'd want to hire a transit manager to start jumping through all those hoops. That's a 2-3 month process.
Right.
We're
So within a
probably-
year, like a little while means a year?
I would think
or-
a year would probably be a good number. We could do it maybe quicker, might take a little bit longer, but.
You
know,
can
we'll
make
go
it
as
happen
fast as we
faster,
can.
Dwayne.
So I think I saw everybody's head shaking, yes, Larry, so I think that council's direction to staff is let's move forward with this.
So essentially moving forward,
bring
beginning
back-
to recruit for a transit manager and ultimately putting out the bid documents for a private provider.
Larry, on that same thing, could we break it down a little more financially when it talks about local contributions and how, Are we gonna break even, are we gonna lose money, or are we gonna, how are we gonna do on this?
And what we can tell you today is that at year 5, based on this option, the general fund will essentially be contributing approximately 466, I believe Amy said between $450,000 and $500,000 for this program at year 5.
So that's
From
for
a
local
practical,
contribution.
and that would come right from the general fund allocation. From a practical perspective, I believe that we will have evaluated the program and would likely have a better number in probably 2 years to provide a council a better understanding and an opportunity to make a decision as to whether or not you wanted to continue the program as is being introduced this evening, and the costs associated with that.
Bob?
I just wanted to clarify, I thought I misunderstood. Are you saying you will come back to council with a request to hire a transit manager and to do RFPs for contractors?
No, essentially, the transit manager has been included in our fiscal year '22 budget as a new position this year.
Okay.
So it's already in the budget. So essentially, we would, from a staff's perspective, based on that direction, the direction that the mayor just articulated, we would ultimately go out and begin to recruit for a transit manager who then could establish the procurement documents that would be put out on the streets for the private providers. The first item the mayor and council would be considering at that point on transit is an agreement with the lowest, most responsive, most responsible responder. That is one option. The other option is that we can bring back this item as a formal council action at the next meeting and ask the mayor and council to cast a vote on accepting this option and take that direction, that the approval of that vote after the next meeting.
I am.
One
And
of
the
things you
reason
need to-
being.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
The reason being, Mayor, is I'm going to support this, but I do have some things I want to say about concerns about it. I didn't know if tonight was the appropriate time to do that. Certainly, if it's coming back for a council action, I can certainly hold my peace until then. But anyway, that's
You can voice your opinion right now.
Well, I agree with you. I'd like to see it come back. The one thing we need to do is be able to explain it to people in the community.
Yes.
We have to understand it enough to do that. And I think, like you say, the community would like to see it happen, but we would all need good answers when people are asking about it, financially and otherwise.
I'm okay either way, Mayor. I can.
Well, Larry, if they'd be more comfortable, and just bring it back as an item on the agenda, and then we'll all vote on it.
Perfect.
Okay?
I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, I can go either way, so.
Good man.
All right, so thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mayor,
Amy.
members
Yes,
of the
thanks,
council.
Amy.
Happy holidays.
Yep.
too.
Merry Christmas.
All right, no other business in the study session, and we'll stand adjourned until Good evening, everyone. Get this on and we're gonna get Mr. Lavender on.
I'm on.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Craig, how you doing?
Good, you're live.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people here, so don't say anything.
Stay quiet.
All right, welcome, everyone, and welcome to tonight's city council meeting on December 20th. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody, since this is Christmas week. And just want to remind everybody to be safe out there, and then we'll call the meeting to order. First order of business tonight is our invocation and our pledge of allegiance. Do we have anybody from the Alliance here? If not, I may pull on Mr. Herman to do the invocation tonight, and then we'll please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for being with us tonight and watching over our meeting. Please help guide us to make the decisions that are best for those in our community. We also ask that you watch over our community and bless all of us that are here and everywhere, and also especially our first responders, our police, fire, medical people here, and then, of course, our armed forces in the United States and in other countries. We also ask that you just keep the whole world in your care this next couple weeks, especially over this special time in the Christmas season and the holiday season for everyone else. And we ask these in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Would you join me while we salute our flag? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Thank you, Mr. Herman. And let the roll call show that all members are present. We have Mr. Lavender present via teleconference.
So noted.
Okay, next item is our minutes.
There are minutes.
There are many minutes.
Yes, let me go ahead and start off with a couple of them. Consider the approval for the city council special meeting minutes of December 6, 2021. Consider the approval of the city council regular meeting minutes of December 6, 2021. Same day, I don't know why there's two of them, but consider accepting the planning and zoning commission minutes from November 4th, 2021. Consider accepting the Casa Grande Youth Commission minutes from October 23rd. Consider accepting the Casa Grande Unit Commission minutes. Consider accepting the Casa Grande Police Personnel Retirement Board minutes from October 21st. And consider accepting the Casa Grande Police Personnel Retirement Board minutes November 11th. And I move that they are approved as presented.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right, so that, any nays? Okay. That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Next is our item is claims against the city.
See my enemy.
Mayor McFarland, I move to accept and pay the claims dated December 1st through 14th, 2021 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right. The claims have been approved. Item E is our meeting agenda approval. Mr. Raines, do we have any changes from staff? Anybody on the dais here? All right, seeing none, then I will ask for approval of our meeting agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right, any opposed? Meeting agenda is approved. Next, we have our special presentation after our amazing 2021 Electric Light Parade Awards. So hopefully all of you are here for that. And I'll meet Mr. Hardesty down in front here.
Sure. Before we start recognizing the award winners for tonight, I do want to say a few thank yous First, a thank you to the mayor, the council, the city manager's office for our support, guidance, and direction. Also, all the departments really of the city are involved in the electric light parade in one way or the other. So we're really excited to all work together to produce that event. There was over 100 volunteers and over 500 parade participants and over 70 parade entries. So obviously a very big event, and thousands of citizens enjoyed it. And so tonight's a great night to recognize the winners. So anybody that's here to win, we will have certificates for the second and third place categories. We will have ribbons for you at a later date that we'll deliver to you. And then the first place awards, we do have trophies here. So we'll just start off with the biggest and brightest, which is the best use of lights, overall design, special effects, and displays. And third place is the Desert Sky Mustang Club.
Thank you very much. Very colorful. It was a pleasure to come.
He looks really happy.
Yeah, we're standing right here, and they're taking them from the crow's nest up there, so here, I'll let you hold that, how's that? You gotta look up, though. All right, congratulations.
Second place is Casa Grande Jewelry and Pawn. Anybody here from that group? And first place and biggest and brightest is Cardinal Glass. That's
They always have a great one.
Yeah, they do.
That is, they all is in awe.
All right.
You feel like you can try to do it.
It was really cool.
Okay, I got it. There you go. Okay, congratulations.
Best Public Safety, third place is the Coolidge Fire Department.
And I bet they're not.
Second place is the Arizona City Fire Department. Hopefully these are in order.
Good to see you. Hey, Chief. How are you? Right in the middle. Yeah, why don't you guys get in the middle? Well, here, you can hold that. Look like you're the prettiest one.
Thank you, sir.
All right, congratulations.
And first place in Best Public Safety is Eloy Fire District.
Don't you know they love that?
Yeah, what?
No dancing.
Oh, yeah? Look good.
I always look
All right, congratulations.
All right, most festive is captures the holiday spirit, use of lights, music, and costumes. Third place is Casa Grande FFA. Second place is the CGMS Wildcat Cheer.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You guys gonna do a cheer for us while you're all your gear?
It's too cold.
I like that hat.
Here, you hold that, you guys hold that.
I didn't want them sick for their winter break.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And first place and most creative, or excuse me, most festive is Youth on Track Cycling. All right, we'll hold that one and get it to them. Next is most creative costumes. Unique costumes ties into the theme of the float. Third place is North Dakota Natives. Second place, K&M Roofing. And first place is the Studio of Dance.
Well, Bob and you and I have been there, haven't we?
Studio?
They were busy with the Nutcracker, I believe, so. Yes. Now we're into the most original, which is unique, creative, and innovative. Third place, Boy Scouts of America, Pack 948.
He's like, not me.
Second place is Boy Scouts of America, Pack 919.
Congratulations. Why don't you guys stand right here? Here, you hold that,
It's
okay?
really fun to see all the youngsters and
So we can see your face. There we go. Congratulations.
The last three only have first place winners. This is the APS Power to Make It Happen Award. Is there anybody here from APS to present this award? Okay, so best use of lights, visual appeal is Casa Grande FFA. Beautiful award, by the way.
Wow.
The newest member.
We'll have some,
Mayor,
deliveries this week.
Mayor, turn it this way so we can see the award. Oh, wow.
yeah.
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 The next one is the People's Choice Award that's voted on by the community through our website. Also Casa Grande FFA, so they had a great night.
Wow.
Skyla, too.
And then the Mayor's Award for the Best of Show creating the biggest wow factor is Powerhouse Fitness.
There was two Boy Scout ones.
Yes. And that's all the awards, Mayor.
Hey, Steve? Steve, there was one, we had a third and a second in the Boy Scout, but I don't think we gave a first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Most original, yes, I skipped that one. Most original is also Powerhouse Fitness, so Powerhouse Fitness won too. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you.
They're smart, they're leaving.
He's having to take water pills, so.
I'm going to go ahead with the consent agenda. Do you have any issues with anything?
Yeah, go ahead.
You good? Okay. All right, we'll move to item G, which is consent agenda items. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. So tonight's consent agenda items, is there anyone in the dais that wants to remove anything?
None.
Okay, anybody from the public? All right, then I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
All right, I have a motion in 2 seconds. So Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
I don't think you heard.
Yeah.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes,
Mayor McFarland.
Yes.
that's timing.
That is timing, perfect. All right. Next item is item H, which is our public comments. And this is a point in the meeting that we allow the public to address the council. And we also have a speaker who has filled out a speaker card, so I'm going to let them go first. And these are two members of our youth commission. I know them, Anthony And Delaney, would you guys, oh, you're already there. Very good.
They're on the ball.
So hi, I am Delaney Dickey. I am the president of the Casa Grande Youth Commission.
And give us your address and then, and your, well, you already gave us your name, so give us your, don't have to? Oh, never mind. I was told never mind. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
and I'm
interrupted.
Anthony Amato, Secretary of the Casa Grande Youth Commission. We're here today just to offer some updates on a few of our projects. One of them being the focal event of this term, the Arizona Youth Government Summit. We would like to thank the local businesses that we have requested sponsorships from, and we hope that they make the decision to make this event the best it can be. We would also like to thank those that have been providing their ongoing guidance in this effort, such as Councilwoman McBride and Councilman Herman and our great advisors team, as well as the mayor. We would like to thank the offices that we are reaching out to serve as workshop leaders and speakers for our event that we will hopefully be providing some exciting updates on in the near future.
We would also like to give some updates on the Heart of Casa Grande scholarship that the Casa Grande Youth Commission does. The application for the Heart of Casa Grande scholarship will open in March. March 7th is our drafted date for that. The Youth Commission members are beginning their process of filming their own videos of their own monuments across Casa Grande, so we are looking forward to sharing those with you guys as well.
We would also like to thank the Casa Grande Chamber of Commerce for awarding our commission the Community Service Award for 2021. And we would like to thank Councilwoman McBride for nominating our commission for that.
All right.
Congratulations.
So thank you, and once again, as always, we look forward to working with the mayor and council for the rest of this term.
Great, thank you both.
Good job.
All right, the floor is still open. Is there anyone else here tonight who didn't fill out a speaking card but would like to address the council? Okay, seeing no one, then I will close the floor and we'll move on to item I, which is award of contracts. First one is I-1.
Thank you. Staff is recommending that the mayor and city council award a contract for professional services to Atlas Technical Consultants for the final design and construction documents for the city's constructed underground recharge facility in an amount not to exceed $346,460. This does include a city-controlled contingency of $10,000. Staff is using this consultant. They were originally Hydro Systems Incorporated, and they were the company that originally did the designs for this project up to 30%. And then we shelved the project until such time we wanted to take it to final design. And based on our 6 million gallon a day discharge limit and the fact that we are now discharging up to that amount, we now need to look for additional discharge in that area. And so we are going to be taking this project to final design and construction drawings so that we can put that project out on the street. Most likely going to be coming back to City Council once we finish our selection project for a construction manager at risk so that we can move this project along and potentially start constructing it prior to finishing final designs, because there's going to be a lot of earthwork involved around that. The Atlas Technical Consultants purchased Hydro Systems, but we're very fortunate to have the two principals from Hydro Systems still working on the project. So it made the most sense to continue working with that group to bring this to final design and get it constructed. We did budget for this project in this year, so we do have adequate funds budgeted in this year's budget. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Bob?
Kevin, with growth being what it is, are we able to take advantage of perhaps investing in more capacity than we need right now for the future?
Well, our current plant is designed to handle 12 million gallons a day, and we are currently in the process of evaluating what improvements need to be made to make sure that when we have those flows, our plant can treat that. Clearly, we're not using the entire plant right now, and we've deferred some improvements. So now we're ramping some of those improvements up, and I think if you'll look at our budget this year and probably the budget in the next few years, you'll see some of those things that we're ensuring that we have the plant capacity to manage that. The one capacity issue we're dealing with right now, and probably the most important one, is our discharge capacity. So we're able to discharge into the north branch of the Santa Cruz Wash, and that's what we call our managed facility. So everything that is recharged in that 6 to 8 mile stretch of our permitted recharge area, we get credit for that in long-term storage credits. So this project will be to build a series of 5 ponds just north of the wastewater plant and just immediately west of Dave White Park, and we'll be able to recharge in that location. That'll give us about 2.3 million gallons a day additional capacity. On the heels of this, we're going to be coming forward with several other projects, looking at both injection wells where we can inject right back into the water table, and we're also going to be looking at opportunities to bring water to other reuse users. So we'll be looking at those capabilities as well. So a lot going on at once.
So this project
Thank you.
basically gives us about 2.6 million
2.3.
2.3 buffer
Correct.
off of our 6 max. Okay.
Good job.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you, Kevin. Seeing no more questions, then I'll call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5364, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting their proposal for professional services from ATC Group Services, LLC, DBA Atlas Technical Consultants, LLC, for final design and construction documents for the city's constructed underground recharge facility, authorizing expenditure of public funds, and authorizing the execution of a contract.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of resolution number 5364 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, item I2.
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Ellison Mills Contracting LLC for a base bid amount of $36,521 and a contingency of $3,479 for an amount not to exceed $40,000. And this is the 2020 Cdbg Sidewalk Improvement Project. This is a continuation of our program where we go out and we identify those areas in our community that need sidewalk and handicap ramp improvements. And we've really focused on our parks in the past and trying to develop that connectivity into those park facilities so that those that are handicapped or challenged in any way have no restrictions on getting into those locations. This year's project is for the Cruise Park and the West Park. This will hopefully provide that access that's needed in those areas. Again, this is part of our CDBG 5-year consolidated plan of action, and with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Oh, and Ellison Mills was the low bid on that. I don't know if I made that clear.
Yeah, good to see they got it, as they're a local company. Anybody have any questions? Comments? Okay, thank you, Kevin. Seeing none, I'll call for a resolution number, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5365, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a bid from Ellison Mills Construction LLC to provide construction of the program year 2020 Community Development Block Grant Sidewalk Improvement Project, authorizing expenditure of public funds, and authorizing execution of a contract.
Mayor McFarland, move approval of resolution number 5365 as presented.
Second?
All right, a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Councilmember McBride,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes, and I just wanted to say thank you for the sidewalks that are becoming absent and are getting a place in our community again, and they're sure needed.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, the next item is I3, again, Public Works Director.
Thank you. Staff is recommending that the mayor and city council authorize an intergovernmental agreement with Pinal County in which the parties agree to share a 50% cost share in the total construction costs of the project. This will be to construct a chip seal type road surface on 3 roads. This will be Clayton Road, Ethington Road, and Burris Road. If you'll recall, or if you read in the paper of late, there is a project area called the Pinal Tech Park. This is just south of the railroad tracks, Maricopa CG Highway, and it sits between Burris and Ethington. So this area is developing with industrial development, and this is the phase 1 of the roadway project. And because the roadways are shared jurisdiction between Pinal County and the city of Casa Grande, we've agreed to share the costs on this project. So this IGA just outlines the cost share of that. It's estimated that this portion of the project will be $1 million, so each entity's share will be $500,000 to cover that cost. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
And that's to chip seal it all the way down to Gila Bend Highway?
Yeah, so that would be, I'm sorry, I did not give the south boundary. Yes, Gila Bend Highway on Burris and Ethington North to basically the railroad tracks.
Right.
And then Clayton, which is the east-west road between Burris and Ethington.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Kevin. I'll entertain an ordinance number, please, Gloria, for I3.
Ordinance number 3317, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Casa Grande and Pinal County to define responsibilities for the construction of Clayton Road, Ethington Road, and Burris Road, authorizing expenditure of public funds, and authorizing the execution of an agreement.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approval of ordinance number 3317 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Councilmember McBride,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell,
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is again the Public Works item I4.
Thanks, we're just asking you for a very large blank check, in essence. But staff is recommending that the mayor and city council authorize a purchase of all replacement and new vehicles included in the fiscal '22 budget in an amount not to exceed the authorized spending limit for each of those items. We find ourselves in a very unique situation when it comes to purchasing vehicles this year, and we're not sure if some of the vehicles that we've already asked for authority to purchase and have under contract are going to be delivered or not. And as we navigate through this process, we're finding we may need to take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves as we go through this purchase process. And we want to make sure that staff has every availability to take advantage of any of those options as long as it's within the budget amounts that we've established in this year's budget, or with reasonable transfers to deal with any cost overruns, but making sure that it's still within budget. So we're asking for a blanket authorization to purchase the list of vehicles, which was on that list that was attached to this RCA, and then it gives a brief description of that. We didn't get into a lot of detail on the exact vehicles for each of the departments or divisions that are going to be using these. For instance, when we looked at police vehicles, we're asking for authority to buy something within the police platform. That could be a pickup truck, that could be one of the Tahoe SUVs, or something else that we're able to find that meets the police department's needs. And the same thing with the other departments throughout the city. You know, we're looking for F-150 pickup trucks, but, you know, we may have to look for other types of vehicles that may fit the needs of each of those departments. So it is a blanket authorization just to give us as much flexibility to manage through this weird time that we find ourselves in when we deal with procurement. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just one question. So this authorization goes how long?
Until we finish purchasing these vehicles.
Okay, so it fits with this particular request for these vehicles.
So like with some authorizations that we receive to move projects forward, sometimes we're able to finish those within the fiscal year, and sometimes we're having to roll some of those projects over. We've started them, but we've not completed them. This is one of those situations where it may take 12 to 18 months to get some of these vehicles that we've already ordered. We may or may not get those vehicles at the time of promised delivery, and that's when we're going to need to be looking for other alternatives. So
These are
this
all
could be a multi-year project, but it's only for these
And they're all CIP
vehicles.
replacement vehicles, right?
Yes, new vehicles and replacement vehicles that were identified.
So just that list, there's like 30 vehicles or whatever on there, so.
Whatever
okay.
was authorized
Yeah.
for this year's CIP. Any other questions from anybody? All right, thank you, Kevin. This is just to allow us to be a little more quick on our feet, so it doesn't have to go through 6 weeks or 6 to 7 weeks at city council. All right, then I'll call for a resolution number for I-4, please, Gloria.
Resolution number 5366, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving the purchasing of budgeted vehicles, authorizing expenditure of public funds, authorizing the transfer of budget authority, and authorizing the execution of agreements, purchase order contracts, and all other necessary documentation by the city manager.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5366 as presented.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right. I-5, this is also Public Works.
And I know this is a vehicle, so this was not included on the list, and that was for a reason. Staff is recommending that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to execute a purchase agreement with Freightliner of Arizona in an amount not to exceed $165,175. And we're also asking for a 15% contingency of $22,145 to purchase a 2023 Freightliner Cascadia semi-truck for the use at the city's wastewater division. We separated this project out because the second portion of this project is the 5 trailers that are needed that will haul our solids materials from the wastewater plant after we process those out to our landfill, where we use those as an alternative cover for our landfill. We're permitted to do that both from our wastewater permitting side as well as our landfill permitting side to take advantage of those materials. Again, we need to place the order for this truck, and at the end of this, we don't know whether that truck will be delivered or not. They've stopped taking orders, but we wanted to get authorization to move forward with this purchase so we can at least start that project. And again, based on the pricing changes that we're seeing in the market today, we feel that 15% contingency gives us some wiggle room if we need to increase the cost of that piece of equipment. We are asking authorization to use the Arizona State contract, number CTR 041810, or any other purchase process that we find available when we do find the vehicle when we're ready to purchase it. So this is the one that we're moving forward with, the state contract, but there could be a need to change what method we use to procure that vehicle. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone?
Just a quick, Kevin, as far as this includes one new employee or somebody within our employment already?
No, through our budget process, we did increase an equipment operator for the wastewater operation as part of this. We will not be hiring that person until we know we're going to have delivery of that equipment.
Is this something we contracted before?
Yeah, we're currently under contract with the company. As soon as we get this equipment, then...
We're going to take it in-house, basically?
Correct.
The transportation of the material?
And if the vehicles aren't delivered in a timely manner, or we're not able to find those, you'll probably see us renewing that contract come the first of the next fiscal year.
Okay. Jeff, I keep forgetting to ask you, since you're kind of not here, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, seeing no other questions, then I'll call for resolution number for I-5, please.
Resolution number 5367, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from Freightliner of Arizona LLC for the purchase of a 2023 Freightliner Cascada semi-truck, authorizing expenditure of public funds and authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to Freightliner of Arizona LLC.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5367 as presented.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, thank you, Kevin. We'll move to item K, and we'll start with item K1. This is ordinances, resolutions, and other matters or subject requiring action by the council. And we've discussed these. Gloria, do you want to just relist each one,
Sure.
each ordinance, and then if there's some discussion, can we have some discussion on that?
Yes, of course. It's a second read, you can discuss, but we want to do them one at a time.
Right, got it. So I'll call for ordinance on K1, please.
Ordinance number 1178.175.1. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from planned area development to multifamily residential on property generally located at the southwest corner of Pinalla Avenue and Rodeo Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Okay, so
Mayor
the reason
McFarland.
these are back on here is because they were not unanimously voted on, so as a second read. So I want to give the council an opportunity, if there's any comments that you
Should we make a
might want to
motion?
make on each
Should we
one.
make a motion first, then we can have discussion?
Make a motion
Do it either
first.
way, but you can make a motion in second.
Or
so
have a
it's on
discussion.
The floor, but before you vote, if you want to allow comment.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead, Matt, go
I
ahead.
have.
Go ahead.
Good. Mayor McFarland, I move approval of ordinance number 1178.175.1.
Second?
All right, so before we vote, if there's any comments on this, now would be the time to speak up. Mr. Powell, did you want to say anything? I was talking to you.
Well, as I say, I'm concerned with that we're getting so many of the R2s in the different companies that are building. And one of the things that I think we have to really compliment our planning department for is compatibility is one of the things they want to be aware of now. And I think it's important, consistency and incapable of harmonious union, which we need to be able to work like that. So, as I say, I think that hopefully they will space out a little bit. If they're not compatible, one of the worst things that happens if you get something that starts building next to somebody else that's either didn't have good house or had a house that was really fancy and had a lot of money in it. And if it's not compatible next to that, you've got problems from there on. So I just would encourage Paul to, where possible, to be compatible about where they're placed. I know there's places they can be very definite, out on the south side of South School and on the north side both would be a good location for them, but, so anyway, go ahead.
Okay. And just a side comment on that is that I think that the planning and zoning group has also done a good job of adjusting some of upping the open space requirements,
Yeah.
which allows for a little better mix of housing in that particular development. I know they've increased it to 20%, which I think is appropriate, and it gives them some opportunities in that development to have some spacing and some open spaces for the community. So, and I think that's important, and I think in line with, what you'd like to see as well.
You know, and I agree, and I understand the concern that you have, and of course, the last meeting, we, had, 4 projects, the R2, but I hope to see in the future that this isn't all we're getting to,
Sure.
I really do. But right now, we do have a demand for housing, and we talk a lot about diverse opportunities, housing opportunities for people. So this is not for everyone, these types of developments, but it's good. There's definitely a need for this type of housing product, especially with the high costs of housing these days. So I'm happy to see that we're bringing projects like this, but I am hoping we get regular, bigger lots and, subdivisions too.
Back to
So.
some more planned area development
Right,
type
exactly.
stuff too, yeah.
I agree with 100% of what you said, and I think that hopefully, if we can get them spread out a little bit in different places. Years ago, the housing thing was full of house trailers, and a lot of people griped about them and whatever. But one of the things that we have to keep in mind too is we've got some high-paid people that work on Thornton Road, and they're going to be looking for the other parts. Well, I think we need to do both, and I think you agree 100% with that. So.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? All right, then we've already called for the question, so Gloria, would you please do a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, let's move to item K2. This is a similar situation. This is a final adoption. And so we will, I'll call for an ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number 1178.209.2. An ordinance of the City Council, the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from planned area development to multifamily residential on property generally located north of Courtson Road and Casa Grande Avenue, between Pinella Avenue and Truckle Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of ordinance number 1178.209.2 as presented.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this matter? You okay?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right, seeing no further discussion, then I'll Call for a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next is item K3. Again, a final adoption for ordinance number 1178.247.1. So I'll call for an ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number 1178.247.1, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from planned area development to multifamily residential on property generally located at the southwest corner of McCartney Road and Treco Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve ordinance number 1178.247.1 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
I'm not excited about this, but we need to move forward, so yes, so these guys can get busy.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Sorry, that was a yes. All right, next item is K4, again, a final, considering a final adoption for the ordinance that we have discussed. I'll call for an ordinance number, please, Gloria.
Ordinance number 1178.229.2. An ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance number 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from planned area development to multi-family residential on property generally located north of Courtson Road and west of Peart Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor McFarland, I would move for approval of ordinance number 1178.229.2 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion on this? All right, seeing none, then I'll call for a roll call vote, please, Gloria.
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, the last K item is considering approval of a resolution that's going to create our temporary Casa Grande Charter Review Committee and authorizing the appointment of committee members. So, Mr. Raines?
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, sorry, Stephen.
It's all right.
Mr. Weaver?
Staff recommends that the mayor and city council create and appoint a 7-member committee for the purpose of reviewing the city charter and making recommendations to the city council. The Casa Grande City Charter was written and adopted in 1975. The charter has been amended only once in 2007. In 2007, a committee was formed and recommended amendments to the city council. The proposed amendments accepted by council were then sent to and approved by the voters in the May 2007 election. That committee also recommended that the charter be looked at periodically to keep up with an ever-changing world and to make us as efficient as possible. So the proposed makeup of the committee will consist of the following members: Bob Jackson, Michael Cruz, Rebecca Romo, Donovan Kramer Jr., Nancy Kaywood, Michelle Emig, and Renee Ben. In addition, the resolution would allow the mayor to appoint a member of the Youth Commission to serve on the committee in an ex officio capacity in order to broaden the perspectives of the committee. The committee is anticipated to start meeting in the first part of January, and it could possibly be meeting weekly or twice a month, depending on what the recommendations will be. And that will be presented to the City Council. All the recommendations have to be completed by March of 2022 in order to make the ballot in November of 2022. And just so for your information, our next study session, January 3rd, we're going to bring the recommendations to you. that staff has come up with, and also the ones that the city council emailed to us, and then we can have the discussion about it, make sure everyone's on board before we start the committee.
That gives the committee direction.
Yes,
Thank you, Stephen.
you bet.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments on this? I think the committee is a pretty wide, broad section of our, and informed members of our community. Mr. Powell?
I think they have an excellent group of adults. We have some youth people sitting in the audience. I don't know
Right.
if they would be interested in something like that.
Well, we left it open so that they could give us a recommendation.
Okay, very
So
good.
that's kind of how it was left open, so that way, because we didn't get a particular response out of them, and they may need to talk a little bit more about
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
But our intent is to have some youth member on the
Good.
committee. Any other comments or questions? So that's your guys' charge, is to go back and find somebody to put on the committee, okay?
Or be somebody.
Or, yeah. And you can let Mr. Raines and myself know. And Stephen Weaver too. Sorry, Stephen. Stephen's kind of been running this, so I just saw city manager, Any other comments or questions from staff? We do have a short fuse on this, so we need to get moving on it, so, if you guys don't have any more questions, then I'll call for a resolution number, please.
Resolution number 5368, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, creating the temporary Casa Grande Charter Review Committee and authorizing the appointment of the committee members.
Mayor McFarland, I move approval of resolution number 5368 as presented.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Lavender.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powell.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. Excellent. So that kind of concludes most of tonight's business. We do have reports remaining. So I think I'll start with you, Bob, if you want to, or did you go first last time?
I'm ready to go first tonight.
Go ahead.
He's good old Bob.
No, my only report is peace on earth, goodwill towards men and women.
Amen.
All right.
And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Bob. Lisa?
Not a whole lot, just I just wanted to tell you, you did a good job last week at the pep rally.
Well, so
Of
did
course,
you.
we were celebrating Casa Grande Union's big victory,
Yeah.
and Councilmember Powell got up as a former Casa Grande Cougar, and you did a great job, so.
Oh, thank you
Good
very
job. It's
much.
exciting to see all the alumni and everyone come out, and the excitement is still going on. And then just, yes, happy holidays to everyone. I wanted to just, extend my, greetings for holidays to our staff, for the city staff. It was so nice going to the city potluck. Last week, we ate a lot, right, Stephen Weaver? You ate, I think, everything at the potluck.
He's getting
I'm
your
pointing
reputation.
you out. He knew exactly where to go at that potluck. To our wonderful staff, and it was a great time to celebrate with everyone, and just thank you for everything that you all do, all of our staff, and happy holidays and happy and a safe New Year's to everyone.
Ditto. Mr. Powell?
Well, I was honored to be between professional football player Anthony Edwards that was out there, and I sat between that and the captain from the cheerleading squad from several years back, and she even had the moves still. She was.
I was not doing anything.
You did well. And I want to thank Aaron for being everywhere, being up there
Yeah.
where the game was played, and being in Colorado, being back tonight. You cover some ground, but it was one of the neatest things that's probably happened to our community in a long time. And when you looked across the field and you saw their group, they had a big group and they had a good team. But they didn't have as good a quarterback as we did, and they caught that ball and 57-yard pass. It was amazing. But, you know, the other thing I want to say is all of those boys without anybody else were very, very faithful. Matt was there, and they really had good manners, didn't they?
Yeah.
They'd visit with you, and so I was really proud of how the coaches has got them, and all of them were invested in this, so that's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Matt?
Yeah, just real quick, Deck the House Light Tour is still going on to the end of the year, so make sure to get online and vote. Congratulations to the Youth Commission for the Community Service Award, nominated by Donna McBride, thank you. The pep rally was a lot of fun, did a great job, and just Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and be safe.
Thanks, Matt.
Good.
Donna?
Oh, we're leaving on a good note, just a couple things. The public safety dinner happened last weekend, and they raised roughly $7,000. One of the things that they are using that money for is the Blue Santa, that they actually had over 300 children receive gifts in one day, so they really did a lot of good with that money. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that, you know, sometimes we get frustrated by social media, and I just want to highlight that if you've been on CG Chat and some of the social media, they've been doing the 12 Days of Christmas, and they have local businesses, small businesses, that provide gift certificates and prizes, and they're just finishing up, and this year they had our local community businesses donated 75 different prizes that totaled about $8,800. And even at a time when everybody is struggling, they came together and really did some good things. And over the past 5 years, I think Darlene Mobley said over $35,000 in prizes have been given to our local community members by local businesses. And I think that, you know, we need to recognize some of the great things that they do. So hats off to her and our local community businesses who take care of each other. And with that, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Donna. Well, ditto on all the Merry Christmas. Oh, Jeff, I'm sorry, Jeff. See, out of sight, out of mind.
Well, just Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody, and compliments to Matt Herman for bringing that holiday spirit tonight.
He never disappoints. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, so, yeah, just a big Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody. I know Hanukkah's already passed, but it was a great ceremony we had here. And then I also, just a real big thank you to staff also for a very tough 2021, but everybody's fared pretty well. You may be consuming more alcohol than normal, but, you know, that's, I get it. Anyway, you know, I was out at Lucid today. I got a chance to get a tour around the Phase 2, and it is massive. I mean, I don't really think our community knows how big that project is. Just Phase 2. I just drove around the 2 million square foot facility that has all the footings are poured. They've got all the steel sitting out there. It is just a massive undertaking. And they're going vertical on Phase 2 as of last Friday. So, you know, Larry and I kidded each other a long time ago, you know, if we could just land one big thing. And, you know, if it was Phoenix Mart or if it was Dreamport Village or whatever, you know, we'd work through all these projects. And it's so exciting to see all this come to fruition and all of the excitement over Casa Grande. I mean, I'm talking national excitement. I'm talking state excitement. I read the Phoenix Business Journal last week, and Casa Grande was mentioned 3 times in there for the TSMC support industry that's coming down here, which is the Taiwan Semiconductor, to Kohler, to Lucid. Lucid now has just been recognized in the top 100 for the New York Stock Exchange.
NASDAQ.
Then NASDAQ, so it's one of those that they track now, so, I mean, that's a huge deal just in itself. And so plus they're, you know, the car of the year, Motor Trend's car of the year, so just a lot of attention on our great community, and I just want to thank staff for all of you guys' hard work on that. That's really a testament to everything that's been laid before, from Donovan Kramer Senior to, you know, to the current, you know, city council that we have here today. So I just want to compliment everybody, and I just think it's a great deal, and you all should be, you know, patting yourselves a little bit on the back, because, you know, and then on top of that, we have the state championship. I mean, it's, you know, the sun's shining on the city of Casa Grande right now, so, so we're really blessed to be here in this position. We obviously need a lot of work still to do. I mean, just housing startups last month, we had another 97 new building permits just in the month of November. So we'll probably finish probably 1,600 building permits for the total year last year. That's about a 40% increase over the 1,114 we had the year before. So it's just huge numbers. And when I said earlier that, you know, I estimate in the next 5 years, probably 20,000 new employees, not employees, but residents, I'm serious about that number. That's a real number, and I think it's really doable. So with everything we've got going, we just need to keep on plugging on, and let's make it happen.
You know I always have something.
Well, I'm not done yet.
I know.
So Don and I have been working on, and with the help of our council, Brett, on our CG boards and commissions. So if you're interested in that and kind of the reorganization of it, we will be having a study session on January 3rd to discuss it. And I know, Brett, you and Don and I need to get together, so next week or so, if you want to set something up so we can help kind of give you some guidance on that. That would be great. And then let's see, what else did I have? This ASU Decision Theater, I know, Mr. Powell, you're interested in being a part of that?
I can or can't with you.
No, I've got you on the list, so.
Okay.
And then I'd also like to include a youth commission member on that. It's basically an engineering project where we're gonna go up and visit ASU. They're gonna show us how this decision theater works and the data that needs to be put into it. And it can help us answer questions on where do we need to put the next wastewater treatment plant, based on growth, based on platted lots, based on all the data we have and that we can put into this system. And it will help us kind of design it and give us
Need to know
suggestions.
stuff, right?
Yeah, need to know stuff for the growth of the community. And we could have it tell us where roads need to be. I mean, it will do a number of things. And so I've got a good list. Thank you, Jeff, for the list. I think that's a great start, and I'll probably use that list to build it, but you'll be hearing from me on that process. All right, so as we move forward. Good stuff, all of it, and Merry Christmas, everyone. And Mr. Powell has one last comment.
I always do. We have two people up here that drove one of those cars from Lexington at either end here, and I guess that was amazing, wasn't it?
3, I think.
I did.
Oh, did you?
I've been
Oh, my goodness.
I've been in it too.
The mayor,
Good for you.
4 of us. You did it?
No,
Oh, you missed out. You're gonna just have to buy one now.
I ran out of gas.
Yeah.
It's electric, Dick.
That's right.
All right. Any other comments? No. Okay. All right. Merry Christmas, everyone. Meeting adjourned.